would like to call the October 27th, 2021 Public Art Commission meeting to order. Roll call, please.
I know Chair Wynn is on her way, so Vice Chair Kim, Commissioner Wong,
Here.
Commissioner Burke,
Here.
Commissioner Andres,
Here.
and then Mayor Pro Tem is in another meeting at the moment.
It's my fault for not being there.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the agenda, which is
So moved.
All in favor?
okay. Let's see, the first item. Communications. Let's see.
Well, city council isn't here
City
yet.
council is not here, so normally it would be city council liaison communications. We will go to commissioner communications. Does anyone have any comments to share?
I,
Yes.
first of all, I'm happy to be here and see all of you in person. Secondly, I am hoping that our city council liaison will choose to be with us at some meeting in the future, because for the past, let's call it 1, 2, 3, there has no been city council liaison here. Other than that, I'm very happy. And finally, I really don't, I'm tired of being in this room. I would really like to be in the bigger room if we could. Back in the council chambers would be great.
That
We
is
could
the
arrange that. There we go. Other than that, I'm in a great mood. Yes.
I'm just happy to be here. I do have concerns, COVID safety concerns with us being in such a tight space. But in general, I'm happy. I'm just really happy to have read the minutes and learned that the mural has a home now. But yeah,
I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to see everyone face to face for the very first time. Very exciting. I also went to the arts crawl of South Pasadena. I think that was last weekend, and really enjoyed myself. It was a lot kind of happening evening. Went over to the start line, and there was a poetry slam going on there. It's, yeah, and a lot of music.
I have no comments on. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you all. And Margaret, do you have any?
just wanted to give you guys an update about some staffing changes. So we have a new acting public works director. So it should be the boss is no longer with us, and so the new acting director was our previous W director, Ted Gerber. So if there's any questions related to public works stuff.
So that's an interim director, not a final director?
So my understanding is that the difference between interim and acting is interim is someone who's outside of the agency and acting is someone from inside. And so Ted is acting for the moment. So I'm assuming that they will be going off of recruitment for the director position. And then within the community development department, we do have a new community development director that's been with us for 1 week. We are having second round interviews for the planning manager position on Thursday, and we're hoping to provide an offer by the end of the day tomorrow. We also have, we did associate planner position, our interviews today. So we have 3 vacancies. So Melinda Lim, who was our previous associate planner, is no longer with us. And so we did do the interviews today for the first round. We have some really good candidates, and we're hoping to schedule the second round of interviews for the 3 vacancies. Probably by next week, and hopefully they're not there out. So a lot of changes, but hopefully we're moving in a positive direction.
Margaret, as far as you know right now, would you be staying with us? Like our own staff liaison?
Yeah.
can I ask, are there just any general updates about any developments in the process? I'm still trying to so itching to do something with a 1% of something.
Yeah,
I know,
so
like, yes. Thank you for the budget.
as part of trying to wrangle and figure out what the workload is and the backlog of projects, the one that I do know that is going to come before the commission shortly, is E15 Fremont, so it's on the Grove site. So they're looking to do a mixed use development there. We don't know what the building valuation is for that. They're still refining the project, but that will be the next one.
So is that city council, second. Civic Center Art Gallery budget. So this next item on the Civic Center Art Gallery, this item was continued from last month, and the subcommittee was formed to work on the request for qualification.
And so, in addition to the agenda packet, you guys have the example of the RFQ from Pasadena, as well as the RFP that was previously issued for the Civic Center Art Gallery. So, for you guys to review and how you guys would like to proceed.
If I'm not mistaken, at our last meeting, we also discussed possibly putting some of that money toward community community access, is a better word for it. Hey, channel, public education. And we were hoping to get an update of where that lies. And I believe that was
Yeah.
something you were going to do, Margaret. Where are we with that?
We did reach out for staff.
Well, she looks, is there a reason why we, I always like to see other people's RFPs, but was it requested to look at others?
Well, I shared it with Chris and Margaret, just as an
Or was it
example.
from the committee? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great, great.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to make any final decisions without meeting Commissioner Andres.
Nice to see you in
Nice to
person.
see you.
Seems like a pretty good parallel kind of model. To at least, begin.
Yeah.
And at our last meeting, we were talking about, traditionally we would have exhibitions in the gallery, but since of COVID, we would have outdoor projects. So in addition to the tele.
Yeah. It's called Pagan. I forget what that stands for. It's an acronym, and it stands for governance, public education and governance. Governance. That's what they're called. But it's community access. It's the same thing.
Okay, for access. So instead of giving one curator one lump sum to carry a bunch of things, that we can divide it into project-based budgets, just, we can take this opportunity. Right.
Though I have to say, now, if I understand it correctly, this money needs to be spent before the end of the fiscal year, which is the June 30th. At the rate at which we are moving with getting any information with the spectrum thing going, I really don't see that being workable reality. So I would love to continue that and move forward with it. I just don't see it being realistic for this fiscal year. But I think that maybe we should think about it for next year.
Okay.
And then in terms of the PEG channel, so there was an outage that occurred earlier this year. And when they reached out to IT to see what would be needed, there was a quote for installation that would be over $1,500 plus a monthly recurring charge of an additional $600 per month. And based on the amount that we get from the PEG fees, it's not sufficient to cover this cost. And so at this point, we'll be moving forward with that.
So these are charges that Spectrum is going to try to charge the city. Is that what you're saying?
That's my understanding, that we would have to pay for the installation of the new equipment.
Well, okay, it is my understanding that as a right of them being given the public, the ability to do business in our town, that they are supposed to provide us at no charge a paid channel. Now, I am happy to speak with anyone that is saying otherwise to that, with the chair's permission. I would be happy to have a chat with someone that you could put me in touch with, Margaret.
Okay, I'll send you the contract. version for-
That would be great.
So should we still pursue this or?
I think we
for
can
this
pursue it for
fis-
next year.
For next.
For
fiscal
next year. I just don't see it happening this year. At this point, we've got pushback from Spectrum. City's moving very slowly on this. I just don't see this happening in the
Okay.
next 6 months.
I agree. So in the meantime, we have a total of 25 for this year. So can we discuss how we want to allocate it? Should we put out an RFP saying that, you know, there's a call for proposals and that each project, there's a range, maybe we can talk about 5 to 10 maybe, and then we can get like 2 or 3 projects, right? Let's say like an outdoor public art project, a performance, whatever it is that we're seeking proposals. So maybe we talk about that.
And so the idea being that the space used would be the space here outside the courtyard of the city council.
And can we do it throughout the city maybe?
You could do
Yeah,
it
but
throughout the city.
Pop-ups anywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's exciting.
yeah.
My question, and my apologies if this was discussed in previous meetings, what would be like, would it be the commission that approves the projects, or do we? So, you know, I understand, like, last time we had a curator, and then they actually had these calls, but, you know, are there any concerns with us, you know, this body, given the green light to these projects? Or do we have the time to, you know, work with, you know, to big projects rather than hiring one body to do that work?
I think we would probably issue either the RFQ or the RFP, and then staff would review and provide a recommendation to the commission, and then the commission could approve or, you know, alter or change as needed.
As we did in previous years, right? Didn't we have a rubric and we had to rate and all that?
That's what we did, I think, the first year. First year or the second year.
How would you all feel about doing that again this year?
I'm fine with that. I just want to make sure that we have the capacity, and that we. It's something that we want to do, and it's our place to be, you know, be picking what art is going to be in the city. I mean, I think, you know, I think we do have the know-how. I just want to make sure that we're the right body to do it.
The alternative would be possibly like finding sort of a program manager. I'm trying to sort of think of how we would achieve this.
Yeah.
So somebody other than, you mean somebody other than the curator or the commission?
Well, there is no.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well, that's what
Someone
I'm saying.
other
So
than
we
the-
would,
Other than the commission, if it is a curator or if it is another body, or if we have a community panel, you know, if we want this really community based. You know, this is all, I'm just thinking of work, because I'm just tired.
No, it's okay.
And like, you know, if we bring in, you know, another call for a panel, a community panel, to then make those decisions. We want to explore this.
Yeah, or even try different things, right? You know, I mean, we have to do projects, right? We want to be out there for, you know, as a community. You know, just.
So I think you have different options, right? I think as Commissioner Wong mentioned, you could, you know, do an RFP for a curator to then come up with different projects and to be kind of the facilitator of this, I guess, quote unquote program then. The other option is to do the RFQ and select artists and then have them develop their proposal, which I would believe the commission would review and approve moving forward. I don't know if there's a difference between doing an RFQ for artists or doing an RFQ for projects. But again, I think that would need to go to the commission for review. So I think there's kind of the 2/3 alternatives that we can consider. If you have any other ideas.
I would rather do the RFP because then if we do the RFP, it's gonna be a lot of work. It's like then, okay, so we have qualified artists and from the qualified artists, then we'll have proposals.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think so, we should.
Yeah, it's as much.
I agree.
In fact, I think it behooves us to try to look for curators that can put together an entire project. That we can say yay or nay to, but to choose very carefully on who it is that we're choosing. That's just my thought.
It sounds like a lot of us are overextended, and that it would be best to just go how we used to do it, just get a curator to curate these albums. Is that what I said?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I want to throw it out, I actually, if we decided as a body that we want, and if there are only like three, if we only have picked 3 projects, I'm fine with that too, I just want to make sure that we're, we go through all those options.
So keep in mind that if you go the curator route, then there's, the fee that you would pay the curator, but then not all of that can be happening. So there's that option there. I think either way, however the commission decides, one of the things you might want to consider is how many projects or programs or events would you like to get out of the 25,000, so that we can include that in the RFP. So then, whether it's a curator or project, we can have that specified. And I know during our previous discussion, we didn't want to necessarily assign specific dollar amounts to each project because you have different types of artwork ranging with different costs. But I think having a ballpark idea of, do you want to do a range of, do 3 to 5 projects or 3 to 5 exhibits, something like that. I think assigning a number would probably help with our.
Actually, if we define it very clearly as we're looking for 1 large and 2 smalls and here are the dollar amounts. And just tell them what can you do within those parameters.
And then if you guys have specific locations, I know courtyard, if you want to do something at Bellevue Park or something. I think the more details you can provide in the RFP, the easier it'll be for you guys to process and figure out who's the best.
Turn to that, I do like the ability for someone to be innovative and think of a place for art that we would have never thought of.
Sure.
And so keep them as that open.
You can also add in language to provide some flexibility. Say, at a minimum, to fee, and then as a third bullet, say, or other suggestions.
And I think with the number, if we try to figure that out now, that will could dictate, like, maybe we could take on, if we're doing 3 projects. If it's 5 projects or 6 projects, I was like, yeah, maybe we should bring it in.
It is the sort of selection is one thing, and then there's the sort of liaising and production part. That's where somebody is going to have to prove those tracks. So, that's.
And then in terms of timing, if we want to extend the funds before the end of the fiscal year, so we need to take into consideration the time for the RFP. It seems that we want it out for maybe 3 weeks. Then if it is curator, then they'll need time to identify the project. If it's a project, if we're commissioning things, artists need time to put things together. So I would just.
Sooner than later.
Yeah. Or sorry, I keep throwing these things in, but it could be another option would be we could, if it's small and we have the time, which it sounds like we're moving away from that, but we could hire, we could do selection of hire project manager, save some, maybe not necessarily curate.
Yeah.
And another thing, just to throw this out, again, it's going to be up to individual curators or whomever to come up with different projects that they want to do. But I am aware that the Chamber of Commerce will be doing a real eclectic music festival next year. And I believe they already have a date in late April. I think that's what I heard from Lori.
They could apply.
Well, they could, or we could, try to push someone in that direction of doing something in tandem with that. Because it seems like a time when the city would get a lot of visibility, we have a lot of visitors. So we could do something that, it seems like the timing could be right to do something about them.
I think that would make sense to do something. There's a lot of people come out and they're kind of looking for art related to that. There's a lot of, obviously. So would it make sense to kind of get an idea of like a number range? Like,
We used to do 3 art crawls.
We used to do that, and then, the eclectic, the last, it got to be a little bit more than I think the volunteer group could handle. And so they backed off of that, and this year, I believe the eclectic the plan is that it's not going to be anywhere near as large. I believe they're only going to block off Meridian Street, so they'll have something playing there, but that means that we could have. And I'm not sure if this is something that has to happen on city property or if it could happen on private property, as long as there is, accessibility by everyone, by the public. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but it seems to me that we could put it pretty much anywhere in the city.
And actually, I mean, where the eclectic would be, I mean, we technically have the park area.
Sure.
So if we split it in 3, one, a very large one, how about 15,000 for the large one and then 5 for the 2 small ones? Or, I mean, I'm just throwing numbers out there.
In my mind, the temporary event is.
So 10s, maybe 10 then?
10,
The
5,
10.
5, and then
5 for the
5 for
Okay.
some sort of manager.
Yes,
or
okay.
would it have-
Or you could have, each project come to us and it's just all in, this is how much money you have, you figure out how it gets split. I mean, we could do it however.
Probably have a number.
We do.
In the hall, so that people appropriately.
or we could do a range, 5 to 7, and,
Actually, it makes it really simple. You just tell them, here are 3 spots. This is how much they have. What can you do for that?
yeah, the
And
more
that way,
specific the
because
better.
they won't match up, we won't end up with $25,000
Right,
even. if it was.
yes.
I think we just want to make it as easy as possible for people to complete the task.
Yeah.
Especially there will be a very short term. Right?
So do we want to touch on?
So I think just because I'm imagining that like there will be artists on the floor. And there will be questions. I don't know. It just. Otherwise, answering questions, or
Okay.
you know what I mean? Or I don't know.
So what would the role of that curator be then?
It would be more like a project where I can just, I don't, I mean, I'm just imagining like, working these sorts of things that there are some there are lots of questions to be answered, so I'm just gonna figure out what forms are going to be filled out and like, insurance, but all of the things.
And promotion so that they are all counted consistently.
I don't know. It's
So,
just-
so the project manager would just be kind of the administrative end of this and the RFQs would come here and we would.
Would it be just one RFP or an
RFP.
RFP? Yeah, one RFP that includes the curator. So then would you want the curator to be responsible for selecting?
Or
I would say no.
we're
That
doing
is something that we should do.
We're
That's
doing
something the
it,
commission
and then they're
should
the
do.
admin manager.
In the
I mean,
past,
maybe not, I don't know.
well, in the past, I've done 2 public projects that, you can work with larger cities that had a bigger staff, but generally, if there were questions or things, you would reach out to staff. And staff would usually be able to answer the question. But now these are, City of West Hollywood has a 5-person public art staff. Which we have part of market. A small part of market.
We don't want to inundate.
I know, so we don't want to do that, but then again, you can have artists asking somebody that we hire a question and they could give them a wrong answer. Because the reality is, you really need somebody with staff know-how that knows this is a rule and
Right.
it's gotta work this way.
especially if it's located in the right of way.
Yeah, so, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I
Maybe it's
hear what
not
you're saying.
necessary. I don't think.
Well, for me, it sounds like the project manager will help make it all cohesive. Not necessarily just, I see
No,
what
I
you're
understand.
saying, but I'm saying if we're gonna go the project manager route, that project manager would create a platform where it's all cohesive, like promoting it, making sure they get what they need. Yeah,
Well, if you're talking about promoting that, are we going to have a budget line item for promotion? Is that what we're thinking?
perhaps come out of the project manager.
Well, okay, typically, most of the project the city does, I believe, would go through normal city promotional channels, so it'd be in there. The,
Yes, however, I think for the last civic center right now, marketing and promotion was part of their budget. So they did provide email blast and come up with the content of that. And so then, yes, we put that on, the city social media accounts, and we sent them emails as well. But they were the ones developing the marketing material.
so that should just be included as part of their deal.
Right.
So we wouldn't pay for that separately, as part of each project.
So I guess the question is, do you guys think the project manager is necessarily needed? And then I think another thing. Is the aim only the eclectic, or do we want to spread it out a little bit? I mean, April is pretty close to July.
Right, it's close to the end of the year.
Could that be the larger project?
Maybe minor, the two
And
small
the
ones, the art
smaller
crawl.
ones.
I'm not sure we necessarily need to decide that. I think that maybe what we should do is decide, we have project 1, 2, and 3. They carry these dollar amounts. We would love to see something during the eclectic, which means you have a better chance of getting chosen. If we do, and let people propose whatever they're going to propose. I don't necessarily want to tie it to, an event. I mean, I know we're very close to the chamber. I'm on the chamber board, but by the same token, we don't want to be beholden to do our own thing.
But we don't want, would it matter that they all have some time? We want it
It's
to
all
allow-
free.
Do they need to? Should they?
There's an argument for density.
Yeah.
But there's also.
Well, and even if there was a project for the eclectic, it's not just for that one day. I would imagine that's something would be in place for, I don't know. You guys would probably want to weigh in on how long.
I like that idea of all at the same time. That could also give us flexibility in different types of dance.
Yeah, installation.
Within a week.
Yeah. Burning Man in South
Weekend.
Pasadena.
I think it's called South by Southwest.
Well, I think we don't need a project manager. If the project manager is administrative, and maybe we can do 10, 7, 5, 7, 5, and give more money to the project.
I agree. I like that.
You do
I
that?
like that.
No, just round.
Want to be and get it out in the world.
Sooner than later.
By the
yeah.
way, I think something we should discuss, will we accept multiple proposals from the same personal group? I believe we should, but I'm just want to clarify that.
That's fine, it's project based.
I mean, for what it's worth, I could see Spark coming at us with multiple.
Sure.
Yeah. Which I would hope. it would.
And so, in terms of next steps, then we'll be ad hoc committee.
Well, now that I have this.
I'll send it to you as a Word file.
Okay.
And, yeah. And then, in terms of getting it out, do you want the RFP to be reviewed by the commission first, or should you just get it out?
Look at it, more eyes and
So we'll definitely need to schedule a special commission meeting because unless you guys want to meet the day before Thanksgiving, I don't know.
Well,
That's
if
a hard
it's-
no.
Margaret, if I can throw this out, if we're going to have a special meeting, can we do that via email and Zoom?
I'll have to double check to see if that-
I mean, I've got to presume that we could do it by Zoom.
So the idea was really to have all the commissions in person, but let me see if that's possible.
Okay.
Since there's a special, it's a special,
Right,
very focused meeting.
Yeah.
because I would think the most efficient way, and I don't know if it's necessarily a proper governance way, but the most efficient way to do this, I believe, would be to send out just drafts of everything. God, everybody gets a chance to read it, we get it online, make it a public meeting, where everybody can talk about, the pros and cons, make a decision, and then get it out the world.
Don't have the ad hoc committee send it to the commission, send it to me, I'll send it to the commission. Don't confer on it because that will be a violation of the.
No, no, no,
bylaw.
no. But just give a
Yeah.
chance, everybody a chance, like a package.
Like,
be able to-
Right.
Yeah, to see
Circulate it
it and then have
Yeah.
ideas, so we can have a really efficient meeting.
Margaret, we would not talk behind your back. We would not do that.
So, I mean, this is gonna be a really quick turnaround because between now and the 24th, which would have been a regular meeting. Is there a specific day that works best for everyone
For the special meeting?
for the special meeting, date and time? I don't know, if evenings are still a good option or.
But, again, if we can do it via Zoom, it makes it a lot easier to just.
I understand.
Do that.
I just have to double check.
Sure, sure.
I mean, the 10th, the 17th would work for me.
How much time do you need to put it together at that committee?
Let's shoot for the end of this week.
Yeah.
Okay, if you wanna get it done by
Because
the
I
end
have
of
a
this
template
week.
now.
If you get it out by the end of the week, and if you say you want to schedule the meeting for the 10th, then I can publish the agenda by next Wednesday.
Okay,
Okay, so special meeting on the 10th.
the 10th would be fine.
You guys want to do the evenings or is there a different time that works better?
That's fine with me. 6:30 is good.
I normally would be on time, but my son's practice went over today.
You're
I haven't.
forgiven, don't worry.
But they won their homecoming game.
Oh, there you go.
After 14 years of not beating San Marino.
Oh, that was a good game. That was a
I
great
heard
game.
it was the best game.
Oh my
God,
I'm
you're
so
Oh
excited.
my God, I lived 3 blocks from the stadium. I could hear the cheering.
That was me.
Yeah.
That They didn't sit with on TV.
Oh.
My kids.
I saw you as a dad driving your daughter to school, and I was like, oh, exciting, because I've only known you as a kid on Zoom. I have a daughter that's it.
That's what we'll say the 10th.
All right.
I think it's very exciting. I'm really excited.
So do we have to vote on that? Do you have to motion for us to vote on that?
Taking formal action. I think you can vote when with the RFP is going to.
Awesome.
And then we're kind of thinking that April as our kind of,
I think it's gonna take a while for anybody to get anything together. I mean, it's gonna take a few months just for us to
Sure.
make the choice. I mean, let's look at the timeline of this for a second. So if we get this out in the middle of November, well, this is not gonna probably get out till close to Thanksgiving. It's out in the world, it's a
and
holiday.
then this holiday.
Well, the 10th is when we're gonna have our meeting.
Yeah.
So then you could get out soon after that.
So if you guys are good with it on the 10th, I can publish it on the 11th. It's Veterans Day, but it doesn't matter. I can
The
just
chances are
post it.
we're put in the hands of people.
Well, so here's the other thing, when we issue RFPs, we use benefits. I don't know if artists use benefits.
What is it?
I don't.
I've never
heard of that.
Okay, so that's another thing. When we have the RFP, if you guys have listservs or other contacts to get it out, I mean, I can post it on Planet Biz, which is, you know, the global thing. I mean, we do everything from public works contracts to artists. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel we can get it out.
We can-
Okay,
Sure.
so then,
Sure.
I mean, so then it's kind of, unless you guys send me the contact information, I can send it out to them the next day, so after it's approved by the commission, we just send it out the next day.
Yeah.
Um,
You could just send
and
it
if
to
we
us.
put a 30-day
There'd be a response.
response time, that puts us at December 11th, which I think is good, before the holidays.
Do you think that's gonna happen realistically?
Well, maybe January.
That's what I'm thinking. It's like January, the very beginning of January, come in with your proposals.
Yeah, that's a
And
faster.
we
but
could
I-
look at them at the end of January, and then that gives them a couple of months to put it together. Is that-
March, April. The end of April or?
I think it's, I heard like, the number in my head is 22nd, but I could be wrong. I'm
So
thinking
if we
that's-
did January, so our regular meeting would be on the 26th of June. So again, we could always do a special meeting, if we need to move on. Once we select an artist, then we also have to do the contract. But that takes a little bit of time too.
Do we have a boilerplate contract that we?
We
can
do, and
use?
we can attach it to the RFP so they know what to expect.
You know what, that would be a really good thing, because I know in the past, I have looked at contracts and been very in-depth and gotten in long discussions with people about the specifics.
Okay.
This brings up another point that I'll bring up again later about South Pasadena being an arts-friendly city and where that stands, but.
You're right, it needs to accord with that.
Well, this is the first opportunity that our city would have to prove that what we're saying, that we are an arts-friendly city. And, that comes in the form of city council approving what we've suggested.
So in terms of timing, when
So
do
in
you
terms
guys
of
want to?
time, you want to do a special meeting in early January or?
I feel excited by this. Special meetings.
Yeah.
To actualize with the, I mean, just having come to the arts crawl, like, it's really fun. It's
Wasn't that a
really-
great arts club?
It
It
would
was
be
a great
really
arts.
cool to like have something, and it would be, tied into that. There's a lot of people that are looking, and honestly, it seemed like it was kind of, we need more fine arts, and that's, it would work well. I mean, I know it's a tight schedule. But everybody needs a deadline too. Like,
Yeah.
So
Deadlines you never done.
I don't think it'd be a problem. I feel like, especially for the artists have been making work.
yeah.
And they will, rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
So just that's an FYI, November 10th is also the same day as a special council meeting to talk about the capital improvement. So that's at 6 o'clock.
That's the same.
So we're back in
So
there.
you will, chances are you will be at that. Will you not?
Not necessarily after something, because I'm not a director.
I can do it any day.
Yeah.
If
That day will be a challenge for me. I'm assuming it'll be a shorter meeting, right? Like-
I would assume that we would only have one item for that night.
Okay.
hopefully.
So I have a 7 o'clock, but if we could try to keep that a half hour.
Do you want to do it maybe at 5:30? Like, I don't know what everyone else is doing.
Well, we can choose another day.
I can do whatever.
Day it's easier. It doesn't have to be
I
Wednesday.
mean, it
Let's
could
say
be
you
a
have-
Tuesday, it could be the 9th. Well, Margaret, actually, I think your
I actually
schedule
have-
might
what's your
dictate.
schedule?
No, seriously,
You tell us.
what have you
Okay.
got available?
So, does Wednesday the 10th at 5 work for you guys, or 5:30? To give us a solid hour?
It will be a challenge for me.
Okay. So if that
If
doesn't
it's
work-
Zoom, I could do, if it is Zoom, I could do, I'm a lot more flexible, but
Okay,
I'm playing from Monterey Park.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll definitely be a hybrid meeting, so.
Yeah. I could do 5:30.
Okay.
If it's hybrid.
Okay,
Let's say 5 and that way.
that way it gives you a little bit of time before your meeting, 5 o'clock, does that work?
Or
Yeah,
you-
no,
well,
I'm
how late are you
sorry.
working?
I usually work till 6:30. So.
Ah!
So to
You
get
work
here-
later than that.
Well, no, yeah, that's physically working.
Okay.
Well, we can choose another day. I can do whatever.
But that's, the earlier the better for me, so.
Okay, the other option would be Monday the 8th. That doesn't give us a lot of time.
It's okay, I can do that.
Okay, so then we'll definitely have to publish the agenda no later than.
November 8th, or
So, yeah,
November 8th.
yeah, yes, I'm gonna have to attend this.
Okay, so what time?
5:36, 30. Whatever.
6:30 works best.
Okay.
6:30. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And then
Well, we're-
for,
yeah, so we can do Zoom as an option.
Yes, it
Good,
is.
right.
so if we do the meeting early November, do you guys want to try to release right then and then
Yes,
try to get
yeah,
it back
yeah.
early December, or you still want to get it back January?
Yeah.
We could aim for that.
Yeah. And
We
then,
can always push it off.
yeah.
We need more proposals.
I know, I mean, it's a little unfair because then we also have things. There's also Veterans Day.
Well, I think it's better to try to get it earlier and then look at the pool. It's necessary.
So yeah, Margaret, you can send me the word and I can. Or we can. I don't know. Cool. Okay, anything else on that, on the civic center? I like our plan, y'all. That was good. Okay, so the next thing is the diversity, equity, inclusion, community forum. I think we should table that or postpone that since we're so involved with this. Because initially we were gonna try to hold a community forum in November. There's no way because we're so involved with it. So maybe we can talk about this after we're done, maybe in January. But I think it goes back to like what Steve said earlier about we need to hear from the community, right? If we're gonna serve the community in terms of public art and what kind of art our community wants, we need to hear all the good and the bad and the ugly and the beautiful, you know? So everything. So I guess we should just take that.
In the meantime, do you guys want to still maybe brainstorm a little bit about the agenda and how you would like the forum?
I think it's very topical, you know, the education department, they opened a DEI committee already, in which community folks participated. I think after the social uprising in 2020, we need to address all these things. But more importantly, just hearing from the community. And I remember when we were hiring our new police chief, the Public Safety Commission had a community forum and folks were speaking. And I felt that was very impactful to have, for us as a commission to have a conversation with the community.
But I think leading up to it, I think getting the word out about the community forum will probably be the most important. If we're actually meeting people. So, I don't know if you guys want to just keep this as an item for the next, well, maybe not for the special meeting in November.
Oh,
It's up to you guys. So I think, unfortunately, I think because of the holiday schedule, it kind of fall where it goes. So on the 22nd, is 22nd of December is technically when our next commission would meet. We all should. be open to it.
Yeah, I will be out of town.
Okay,
What are we doing?
Sorry, what was the date you just said?
The 22nd in December would be our regular scheduled meeting,
Pretty sure.
so, I don't know if you guys
Beyond
want
it, that's it.
to, so I don't know if you guys want to do a special meeting before that.
You mean instead of meeting on the 22nd?
Yeah,
You mean just, so it's not a special meeting, but just reset the regular monthly
Yeah.
date?
Because we're gonna need to review.
well, it would be hard for us to change our regularly scheduled meetings because we have so many commissions. Every day of the month is a meeting.
Yeah.
So I think there, I don't know if there's actually any dates that are free right now. So I don't know if you guys want to do a special meeting in December, but we released the RFP the first week of November. We Try to get it back the first week of December. try to meet. the second.
And then we wouldn't meet on the 22nd. Okay.
Because the agenda for that meeting would include reviewing the proposal.
Right. Okay.
And what day are we talking about?
The second week of December, so the week of the 6th. If you wanted to do the Wednesday, it would be the 8th.
Sure.
I'm assuming 6:30 the desired time.
So it's November 8th and December 8th.
December 8th doesn't work well. If it's earlier or hybrid, again, it's a lot easier for me.
Sure.
But the 6:30 sounds.
Okay.
5:30.
With 5:30.
On the
It'll
8th.
work for me.
Yes. December 8th. Okay. Okay.
I gotta get my son to drive.
Once they get older, kids get so much easier. I swear to God, they do.
Just having one kid driving.
Right?
Yes.
Well, once they get married and move out, it's really.
Until they have kids and they want.
Well, there's that. Then you're ready for kids after a pregnancy.
I can make it. I can have them meet me somewhere.
I'm flexible.
Or is there a different date? Do you guys want to try to do, Tuesday?
Tuesday, what,
Tuesday?
At 6:30?
Tuesday the 7th.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so then during that meeting, we'll discuss, maybe marketing for community forum, and scheduling that date so that I think if we can schedule it out maybe at least a month or two.
Yeah.
After
Yeah.
that, then we can get enough
Sure.
information out.
Sure.
So we can talk about that then, and then, review the proposal.
That sounds great.
Oh,
Good if we had a hot topic to draw people into. Oh,
horse
by the way,
statue.
did we say we're gonna do a horse statue right in the middle of the town, and see what people have to say about it?
Don't do that.
We're
Don't do that.
talking about a Confederate horse statue.
Definitely do not do that.
Or we can make something about it interactive or something. That would be kind of cool.
Well, I think I read somewhere, right, the anti-bias club at the high school. I think I think engaging young people in this would be
Yeah.
really, really
Yeah.
great. I think that young people would be very into this.
So we're tentatively scheduled right now for the first council meeting in December for it to be brought before the council to review the document. The city attorney's office. So
Actually, thank you, Commissioner Andres. I think that would be a great starting point to start the conversation. It hits all the points. It's a locally funded and produced public art project. It's young folks and it's all about diversity.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe
And not mural, the point, the purpose of that mural is to foment this kind of discussion and the didactic end of it and to engage the community. It would be awesome.
Okay, great.
the timing wise, that would be great. If the council approves it on the 1st, then we have our meeting on the 7th. That would be a great way of also promoting the mural. Because I know that they'll be fundraising as well. So.
Sure. And is there gonna be a ribbon cutting or something for the mural when it's
I hope
complete?
so.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Should schedule something.
That.
Great. Fantastic. Tiger news.
Right.
Excellent. Okay,
It's stuff happening.
yes. The last item on our agenda.
Madam Chair, excuse me, before we move to the consent portion of the meeting discussion, can I ask where we are, and actually, for permission, if we could ask staff, where are we with our Americans for the Arts Best Practices proposal being approved by City Council? Where are we with that?
Follow up with the city attorney on that one.
Okay, are we still waiting for a city attorney to give it a blessing, or where are we with that? Exactly.
Honestly, I don't remember what. No, I knew that.
Okay.
And I'll be good for the.
Well, and I think so, one way or another, I would really like to see this in the hands of city council as soon as possible. So I don't know where, what all the city attorney has to do to make that happen, but I believe that this commission would appreciate it very much if they could get their things happening as they need to. Because we have been talking about this now for many months. And it would be really good timing to get this done.
Especially with that contract.
Exactly.
Any other discussion? Okay, then the last item is the consent for the minutes for the September meeting. I have a motion to approve those minutes. Should be attached.
So moved. Accept the minutes as presented.
Anybody second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, I think we covered everything
Wow.
I think we did.
in record time.
Yeah. and deep into our-
Face to face.
Yeah. So before we adjourn, I just want to congratulate Commissioner Wong for an amazing VPAT opening 2 weeks ago.
And that it is my excuse too why I didn't go to the arts ball, to be honest. At the same time, but thank you.
Yeah,
Oh.
for sure.
And there's 3 new shows, so if you haven't come by and you want to make a trip to parks in our neighborhood, Monterey Park, we're open on Wednesdays.
That's impressive.
It's impressive.
We should do a public commission. field trip.
Field trip would be great.
I love that.
We just did a field trip, the chamber did a field trip to Glendora for the thing. Do you know they only have 2 public commissions?
What?
They only have 2 commissions that have members of the public involved.
Wow.
And so they said, well, how many do you have? I think we have 24.
Very involved.
They
Yes.
I don't know, they only have 2 public, they only have 2 public commissions. And I think one of them is planning, so, because I think that's required by the state. Yeah. They don't get their people too involved, and it seems like people in Glendora don't get too up in arms about it, but then again, they aren't involved like we are. So,
What brought you out to Lenore?
We went out there to go look at their street, the way they had moved parklets into the street for designing and things like that. They have a completely different situation because they have a different public works director. Our public works director really wants everything behind a bunker wall. Whereas in Glendora, it's a little bit more lighthearted. I'm sorry, I just thought of something. This is a good question. Back to our the RFP. So clean up. The RFP will be open to anyone. We're going to put a geographic boundary limit.
LA County?
So it's really up to you guys. I think the last time around, I think we had given
Orange County
additional
was-
points for if they were local.
Yeah.
And we can do that, right?
Yeah,
We can
we
say
can
we
do
would
that.
give preference to
Yeah.
the South Pasadena
Yeah.
based organization. But then are we going to do it in LA County? Do you want to spread it out to LA1 Ventura? I don't know.
I mean, I think just logistically, they're gonna be installing something in a very practical way. It would be helpful. It would be. But I don't know, Chris, do
Yeah.
you work with artists who go to,
Yeah.
Borrego,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, But I do think like it would make sense for something to say on scope to keep it within like. Especially the time.
And I'm wondering if it would be worthwhile to send this out to those organizations like the association. Because, they've got so many people. That would be a great.
And do you guys want to limit it to new artwork that's specifically created for this, or is it something that they've already done?
I'm I'm fine with previous.
Yeah.
contracts.
I am too.
I am, but the budget, for the larger pieces, I would think the budget assumes that it would be something kind of new, but I don't know. I'm open to it.
If they put a banana with duct tape up somewhere and call that $20,000, I might have some issues with that.
So the dollar amounts right now are 10,000 and
Sorry.
7,500.
Yeah.
So I don't know,
How long will the artwork be up?
that's another thing.
Because that's a good question, because this budget only goes through the end of the fiscal year, but the art can remain up for months after that while we're getting the next year's thing figured out. Right?
Yeah, as long as they invoice us
Before.
before the end of the
Yes.
fiscal year. Yeah.
And
But that's a good I think that's a very good point, because that's kind of a little bit of leverage. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, it'll be up for 6 months.
And if it's not new artwork, then, the longer the up for.
So maybe we should have them put that, how long they want it up. Because
Do you guys want to maybe come up with an idea of what you guys would like?
We should have like a minimum parameter or something like that.
minimum,
Realistically, let's think about it for a second. The budget doesn't get approved. Next year's budget won't get approved till the end of May or sometime in June, right? Is that what happens?
I think usually by June, because it has to be adopted before July
Before
1.
June, before June
Yeah.
30, right? Right. So that's when the money comes out, and then we start the whole process over again. Right? So realistically, it's going to be at least 3 months, maybe more than that, maybe 4 months from July 1 before we could be in a position to have some. I mean, that's just one thing. What do you guys?
well, if it's a performance, it can't.
Yeah.
That's down.
Right.
I mean, we specified, if this is installation, we would anticipate the security.
Yeah.
Performance is kind of- And just, I'm glad we're discussing, we have a little time and we need to work out, but, as we're like, if something's enclosed in this, the city hall gallery, I think insurance is like thought out. But is there considerations if you do a public artwork that's going to be exposed to the public for 3 months? Who's going to pay for that insurance? What happens if it's vandalized? So those are things that also. I think we can work out.
And they have to provide their own.
Usually
Yeah.
they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so
Yeah.
artists need to provide their own insurance.
Insurance,
Right.
right. Usually you have to give a proof of insurance, and you may even have to give a, what do they call it, name,
Certificate of insurance.
certificate with the name lost pay.
Yeah, it has to name the
Right.
city as an additional insurer.
Right.
Especially if it's going to be installed in the public right of way, what if kids are climbing on it?
Chris, have you dealt with that at
A
Brigham?
little bit, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's.
Is the city going to have a requirement for the artist to provide workers' comp? I've come across that in the past. They have to
Or-
provide anybody that is employed by them, they have to show that they have workers' comp. I've run into that in both West Hollywood and Beverly.
Workers' comp for their own.
For their own.
Yeah, I've run at the city of LA, because if they subcontract out to get something fabricated.
Yeah,
I want to say that it might be included in that boilerplate contract, but I don't think I've ever looked at the workers' comp.
yeah, well, when you're an artist submitting. very close with these things, And it's just in the past, I think, what people just generally expect them to do.
And the question, about insurance, like, it makes sense, yes, they insure the work if there's any vandalism or damage, but is there a separate insurance policy in case liability, if it hurts someone?
Yeah.
I don't think the work itself is necessarily needs to be insured. I think it's just the liability.
Just the
Yeah,
liability.
It's the liability insurance that we have. Proof of.
And so what happens if someone destroys a piece, they just said it's too bad and who's responsible?
And we just assume it's the artist.
I think if it gets destroyed, it gets destroyed. I
That they
don't
just
know that
acknowledge.
anybody,
Yeah,
well, we're
have
not
to
gonna
make
make it a
it clear.
requirement that they have to replace the artwork if it's damaged or destroyed, are we?
Are we envisioning this as a temporary exhibition?
Right.
So,
Well, people do crazy things. They broke down all those trees that were planted right for the school district about 2 years ago. Somebody went through, they planted those brand new golden ginkgos, and there was some drunk person probably came in and kicked and broke every one of them. Probably, and the city had to replace all. Might have been one, might have been 3 months. people do crazy things, but you know, I think at a certain point, you just live in the world we live in. You know.
And, you know, artists are making important.
We know that.
Yeah, it's part of the whole business.
Well, there's a lot to think
Yeah.
about. And now that the rubber's meeting the road,
Yeah.
Oh,
all
I
of these
know.
previous discussions are kind of coming.
People are becoming very real.
Yeah, right?
Any other?
Yeah, I'm really excited. Thank you guys for taking the lead on doing this.
Haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys
You
yet.
started.
It's all right, you committed, you're the boss.
Oh,
You're the boss.
yeah.
You have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, yeah.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Great seeing y'all.
Nice seeing everybody.